there, it's Ann from craftfantastic.com, and we are going to be making the Butterfly Fantastic Art Card Kit. And it has, you make 5 cards, and this is one of my favorite kits. I think it's such a great kit. And the butterflies are multi-dimensional. And we've got our happy birthday here and our little signature gems. And then here's a large butterfly and it says happy birthday to you. And I love this one. This is really sweet with the little book cover and then the little butterflies. And it says fly with joy. And here's another happy birthday. And I love this one too. I mean, it's a really fun kit. Easy to make and very joyful, I think. So let's get started. Okay, so this is our kit, deconstructed, all kinds of goodies. You've got your bag of glass and your trays, your puffy dots, your super sticky dots. This is very cool paper. It's an adhesive on one side, and we'll be using that to create our butterflies. Some ribbon, some cardstock, some of it a little shimmery, your 5 card blanks, your Luxline card blanks, and your 5 envelopes. And what makes the Luxline cards great is they're cut a little bit smaller so they can go into the envelope without having problems, and it can be loaded up. The front can really be loaded up. And these are large cards. These are 5x7 cards and not the 4x6 size. All right, so these are the tools and materials that you need. You need some kind of a paper adhesive. I like these smaller ones because they hold nicely in your hand. And then, of course, the glaze and glue, the Fantastic Glaze and Glue, and that's Craft Fantastic. It's a fabulous product. A bone folder. This one's actually made of plastic. Some Q-tips or paintbrushes to clean up around the edge of the glass, and your pair of scissors. And you might need a pencil to make a few marks on the card. So that's the tools and materials you need. So you've got all your image sheets, and I'm going to set this one aside. This tells us card 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And we're just going to cut these apart. Set aside this card with the butterflies on it, and set aside this sheet with the butterflies. So I want you to put these 2 sheets to the side. We're not going to cut those yet. All right, so set these 2 sheets aside. All right, so I'm just cutting these up so we can make these into little stacks. These little round circles are for our signature gems, which we'll be using later, so I'm going to set those aside. And I'm going to cut these apart. Make sure you leave this 2 here, because this tells you where it goes. Because we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in terms of the images. This is number 5. Choose one. And number 1. Choose one. This is number 3, choose one, and number 4. And number 4, choose one. Okay, so now we're going to put them into little stacks. Or actually, before we do that, I'm going to leave this here, and I'm going to tell you what to do with these 2 sheets. So these are the butterfly sheets, and you're going to take the sticky-backed craft paper and just turn one of these over, and it's super easy. What I'm doing is I'm just sticking this onto the back of this sheet. And this, again, this is so hard for me dealing with this, so I just take it, and it doesn't have to be exact. Just roughly getting that on there. And what that does is it gives the sheet of paper some body. And I'm going to do the same. So I'm just going to turn this over like this. Okay. And now I'm going to cut the butterfly pieces out. Now just, again, keep in mind that you're keeping the numbers with the pieces. So I'm just going in. Right now I'm just rough cutting. So this is number 3. Okay. So now what we're going to do, we're going to make little piles of what goes with what. So this is number 5. This is 5. This is number 1 and 2 and 4. Okay, so now everything's divided up in the piles of the corresponding number for the cards. So we're going to set these all aside. Okay, we're going to do number 1, and this is the first one, and this has the large butterfly with the 3 pieces of glass and then the leaf ribbon embellishment. So here are all of our pieces. This is the background. This makes up the large butterfly, and then this we're going to make with the pieces of glass. So I'm going to set this aside. So I'm just going to cut out all of these pieces, and you want to cut away the white away from the edges. So you want to cut as precisely as you can, but it doesn't have to be perfect because this is a handmade card and this isn't die cut or machine made. This is actually, you're doing it all by hand. So I'm just going to trim all the way around. And I like using large scissors for this kind of cutting. Well, actually for all cutting. Some people like really tiny, fine scissors for this, and that's fine as well. Whatever works for you is great. Okay. And I'm just cutting a little bit here, sort of wavy. And again, it doesn't have to be precise. Okay, and now we're going to take this lovely sky blue, one of the blue pieces of cardstock, and we're going to glue this background onto the blue cardstock. And this is, it doesn't have to be straight because you're trimming off, and that's what's great about our kits, is that the design of the image tells you where to cut. So I'm just going to glue that down. And now, and I'm going to cut just right around 1/8 of an inch all the way around. If you want a wider border, that's fine. Or you can use your paper shapers or pinking shears. That would be super cute. Okay. Alrighty, and now we're going to take some of our green ribbon here, the leaves, and I love this ribbon, and it's a little wanky, but that's what makes it look natural. So you want to sort of flatten it out, and you're going to figure out where you're going to wrap this. And what I'm looking at is, so I think I'm going to cut off this leaf and cut off this leaf. And then I'm going to cut this leaf off and this leaf. Because this is going to go behind the card. I'm going to look at this and make sure. Yep, that looks pretty good. Yeah, I think that's good. So it's hitting at the bottom a little bit below a leaf, and it's hitting at the top. I mean, you could move it around so you can see more, more on the top. And I might do that because that might give it a little interest. I like that. So I've got this little leaf sort of overlapping. So I'm going to take my fantastic sticky dots. And you want to use these to glue your ribbon. Have you ever gotten a card in the mail and it's not together? This will assure that it's together. So when you're gluing down ribbon, you want to use a sticky dot. And I'm just going to, this just sort of tells me where I put it on the back roughly. Okay. And then I'm just gonna match up here on the bottom. Just like this. And then I'm gonna peel the orange liner off, which is the tricky part. There we go. And I want to make sure that the 1 is in the lower left-hand corner. It's sort of, this is a weird one. It doesn't really have a top, but you want the hashtag or the number sign first and then the number 1 because you're going to glue the butterfly on top of that. And remember, I was going to have this little leaf coming across the top a little bit, just like that. And notice that I'm working from the front. If you work from the back, you won't be able to see what you're doing. And then I'm going to straighten everything out. And I'm going to pull it tight. And there you go. You've got your green leaves attached. And you can go ahead and trim some of this off on the back. It's not critical, but I think it makes for a nicer piece. There we go. Whoops. Okay. So now I've got my little piece here all ready to glue down onto the card. So I'm going to take one of my card blanks and notice that there's a little bump. You want the bump facing up because you want the bump on the inside of the card. You would think it would be the other way, and you want to match up the corners because they're never perfect. And you sort of force them into place, and then you burnish as hard as you can using the midpoint of the bone folder. Just like that to make it nice and flat. And now you're ready to build your card. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to weight the bottom a little bit. That's W-E-I-G-H-T. And you want a little more space here than up on top, and you want the sides even. So I'm eyeballing that. Some people measure, but I really don't think you need to. And I'm just going to take my paper adhesive and just move my piece around. Oh, that was interesting. Got a little bit of extra adhesive on there. Well, let's see, I think that'll be okay. All right, and make sure that this one is down in the lower left-hand corner, and I'm just looking at it from side to side, and I'm bringing it at an angle. You don't want to commit like this. You want to bring it at an angle because then you can just lay it down into place. All right. All right, so now we're going to create our butterfly. And the way we're going to do that is you've got this little tab on here. And so what you're going to do is you're just going to take it and you're going to fold it over. And you can even burnish it a little bit if you feel like it. You don't have to. But just like that. And I'm going to do the same thing for the other wing. Is I'm just going to fold that over. Okay. And because I really want this to hold, I'm going to use some super sticky dots on here, but I'm going to use half sizes. So when I'm cutting these up for different projects, what I do is I try to keep them all on the sheet. So I'll just cut like this so you have a little bit. It holds up rather than cutting them off the sheet. And I'm going to put this on the back of the flap, 2 of them. Side by side. And I'm going to do the same for the other flap. And now comes the tricky part. Okay, so this one's gonna go down first. And I wanna do it in such a way that it's kind of going to be at an angle. And that I've got a little space. Just like that. And now I'm going to take this one. Okay. And I'm just putting that on top, just like that. And I'm going to take my bone folder and burnish this down, just to get everything into place. All right. So now we need to elevate the wings. So I'm going to take puffy dots and I'm going to put one sort of right with a point in the wing and right here. And I'm just going to peel this off. And you can actually give it a little dimension by sort of pushing in on it, and so you're getting a little hump here, just like that. And then I'm going to do the same thing on this side. Again, kind of right in the point of that wing, and then somewhere down here. And then again, I'm sort of pushing it towards me a little bit, just to give it a little dimension, a little bump. So you can see it's got a little bump here. And if you didn't do that, that's fine too. Now we're gonna put the body in right here, just like this. And you're gonna do that with some sticky dots that are cut in half. And again, I like to do this so they sort of stay on the sheet. So I've got my dots here. And I think I'm going to put 3 on here. Okay. And then the hard part, peeling the backing off. And then I'm just going to place the little body down. And look at how cute that is. All right, now we're going to create our little pieces of glass here. And you want to use some scrap paper. You want to work on a hard surface. And we'll get our glass pieces out. And we are using the 3 squares. And I think on this one, I think I want to use, I'm going to use this fly here. And you can save this for other projects. Make sure you leave a lot of white around the edge. And the reason we're doing that is that you want a little bit of the fantastic glaze and glue to ooze out the sides. So I'm using my fantastic glaze and glue, and this is a square. So I want to put a little blob in all 4 corners and one in the center. And I take it and I push down on it. And I want to wait until it stops moving around. And this will pull all the air bubbles out. And once it stopped moving around, I take a Q-tip and I'm going to clean up around the edge. And if you get a little bit of the glaze and glue on the front of the glass, which I just did with my finger that has it on there, don't try to wipe it off. Scrape it off later with an X-Acto knife. And now I'm just going to trim it. Notice how I'm nipping the corners off and I'm undercutting slightly. You want to let this dry completely, or you want to trim it completely wet. I would let it dry, but because I'm showing you how to do this. And you can see where the glaze and glue is on here. So now I'm gonna make my other two pieces. And I'm pushing down. And it stops moving around. Just like that. And now I'm cleaning up around the edge. I'm going to do the same thing on this one. Okay. And then I am going to trim, nipping that little corner off, undercutting my paper. Go. I'm just going to take my X-Acto. I'm just scraping this off. This dries really fast. There, now it's cleaned up. Okay, so now I want to glue it onto my card, and it's important, I think, to add a little drama, so I want it to go off the edge a little bit. I think that makes it more interesting. And make sure you have this spelled correctly, because I've done things like that before. And I'm placing everything on here. And what I'm going to do, I'm actually going to glue down the center one first, because these two pieces are going to stay here and inform me as to where I'm going to glue this one down. And I'm going to use my super sticky dots again. And you use these to glue down the, oops, so much for my little layout here. Let's try this again. There we go. And there we go. Okay. And you want to use these because these are flexible. So imagine something coming through the mail and it gets banged around and folded. If you're gluing things that are inflexible, you want the adhesive to be flexible, because then it will hold if things move around. Okay, so this gives me, there we go. There's that. And now I'm going to glue down the F. And I want that just right up off the top of the frame. I think it's nice when things, from a design standpoint, when things don't match up. Because if they just match up ever so slightly and they're not perfect, then it looks like your intention was for them to match up and you kind of missed it. Okay. And voila. So there you have card number one. We're going to make our little signature gems at the end. And that's these little things that tell your recipient that it's homemade. So each card gets a little signature gem. So that is card number one. Okay. Now we're going to make card number two. And this one's a super cute card with the 3 little butterflies kind of running up the page here. And you're going to take your materials here And we've got our 3 butterflies and our background. This is a fairly simple card in that there aren't a lot of big elements in it. And all of our kits are essentially done the same way, where the backgrounds kind of dictate the sides of the cardstocks. Once you've made a couple of our kits, you know exactly how to do it, kind of. You probably wouldn't even need to watch the video. So I'm going to cut out all 3 butterflies. And again, we're not shooting for perfection here. We're just trying to get some detail, but not going nuts with the detail. Okay, there's butterfly number 2. And then here comes butterfly number 3. Okay, that's butterfly number 3. All right, so now we're going to back our background with some of this lovely black cardstock. And I'm just gonna use my paper adhesive. Love these tape runners. When I first started, none of this stuff existed. I've been in the craft industry for over 30 years, and there are many fabulous innovations, and the tape runner being one of them. I'm gonna move this over here. Give yourself enough room to cut this off, but maybe you will be using this later, I'm not sure. And again, I'm just trimming, it's about 1/8 of an inch all the way around. So now we're gonna work with our second piece of green leaves. And you kind of know how to do this now. And what you want to do is unfurl everything and kind of make it go flat. And I think this is going to tip up right above here. So I'm going to cut off the first 2 leaves at the top. And then take this, and I'm going to cut the last 2 leaves at the bottom. Again, I love this ribbon. I use it in a lot of projects. There we go. Okay. All right, and we'll get our sticky dots, our super sticky dots. And I kind of know exactly, I know it's centered on this, so I'm just gonna place these sort of dead center on the top and on the bottom. Okay, and I'm gonna work from the front again, and I'm gonna sort of put everything in place here. And again, I think I want this little leaf going slightly off the top. So I'll just go like that. And then I'm gonna pull it nice and tight, but not too tight. You don't want to make the paper bow. There we go. All right, that looks pretty good to me. It's roughly centered. I'm gonna take one of my cards, keeping the little bump up, right? Having that in the center, forcing my corners into place, and using the bone folder, and really burnishing that down. And I love the surface of these Luxline cards. It's a nice, big surface to create your art on. Okay, so I think on this one I'm gonna do it just slightly, just a little bit of weighting on the bottom, and you wanna center it side to side and about right here. Oh. Now I went off the edge a little bit with my tape, and I'll show you what I'm gonna do about that. And I did it on the top too. I'm just folding this over. You can trim it off, but it tends to gum up your scissors. And I'm just folding over that little edge that came over. And I want the leaves going up. And I'm just going to place this onto our card. Just like that. Okay, so now I'm going to glue down my little butterflies. And I'm going to do this orange one on the top, the blue one on the bottom, and the other orange one. Now I do this way because you've got, this would be heavy orange here. You can do it however you want, but I chose, you know, I like to think about these things. This one's slightly larger, so I like that one on the bottom, but you could do it on the top. I mean, you can mix it around. It doesn't really matter. And the way we're going to do this, and we want the tack, the extreme tack of the super sticky dots. And so I'm just going to place a half a dot in the center of this little butterfly. Now, this will not hold down if you just use the paper adhesive. So you really want to use the super sticky dot here. And I've got a little bit creeping over, but you won't even notice that. So I'm just going to leave that alone. Okay, so that's in the center. And now what I'm going to do, I'm going to take my puffy dots, and again, and I just want to elevate the wings, just like this. And I don't have to do it on both, just on the top wings. Okay. And now I'm going to place these. And I'm just looking at the cheat sheet a little bit to see how this is done. So I've got this one going at an angle here. I've got this one going, and I've got a little bit of a dot here, so I'm just going to trim that off. Okay, I got a little close to the edge. Oh, that one's going on the bottom, so that's angling it the same way. And probably when I glue them down, I'll glue these two down first, and then this will dictate how I'm going to do the center. Just like that, right? So the first one I'm going to do is the one on the top. And I'm just going to take it, and I'm pushing. I'm just going to go just like that, and then place it down. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to take my bone folder and kind of smash that down in the center, just to make sure that it's tacked down. There we go. And now I'm going to do this one down here, and I've got it facing sort of in the same direction as the other, because the middle one's going to go like that. And that's going to be at an angle. And I'm just going to place that one down sort of in the center. And again, I'm just going to burnish this down. Now the super sticky dots are really going to hold this in place. When I first made them, I used the paper adhesive, and they pulled right up. Okay. And then this is sort of centered at an angle going off in the other direction. And again, I'm just going to get in there and make sure that that's sticking down. Okay, that's card number 2, and we'll, as I said, we'll do our signature gem at the very end. Okay, so this is card number 3, and I love this one. And Dee, who works with me, loves it too, so it's a good card. So this is card number 3, and this is a book cover. And again, it's the same with the butterfly motif. And so what we're gonna do is we are gonna set this aside because we're going to make the piece of glass later. And we're gonna cut out all of the components here. And again, I go around a couple of times when I'm cutting. So I don't try to cut everything out the first go around. I think that's one way to do better cutting. Okay, and that's butterfly number 3. Okay, so now we're gonna make the piece of glass that goes in the center here. Well, actually, first we're gonna back it with this beautiful, I love this blue color, this shimmery blue. And again, it doesn't matter if it goes on here straight. You're just gonna take it and just like this. And I'm just going to and then I just trim all the way around. And again, it doesn't have to be perfect. And it's roughly 1/8 of an inch that I'm doing, but again, you can do it wider, you can do it less. I mean, you can really do it however you choose. Take a little bit off the edge here. There, I think that looks pretty good. Okay, so now we're going to make our little glass piece. And I think on this one I did Fly with Joy. I think I'm going to try the Fly Free. And you can keep those for other projects. And this is our medium round glass. This is by far the easiest size to work with. It's big enough to hold in your hand, but it's not too big. And notice I just put a blob in the center because it's not a square. I don't have to worry about putting the little blobs in the corners. And just look at how that magnifies everything. It just really comes to life. It's great. Okay, now it stopped moving around. Oh, I want to work on scrap paper because you will get the fantastic glaze and glue all over the place if you don't. But make sure you're working on a hard surface. That's really important. All right, and I'm just trimming. Just like that. And that's gonna go right here on top of the little book cover. In fact, we're gonna put that on right now. And what you're gonna do is just you can put it on the back of the piece, but you can also just put it on top of the number 3. And then just peel the liner off. And just glue that down, just like that. And just the way we did before, we're gonna attach our little butterflies with a half just kind of putting it right in the center. Okay. And this one, we're not going to put a puffy dot right here because do you see how it comes off over the edge? We're going to actually put that on afterwards. So I'm going to put one here, a half a puffy dot, but I'm not going to do it on this wing here. So I'm just going to put that there. Okay. So I have a choice. I can make this and then attach it to the card, or I can attach it to the card, but I'm going to make it. And because you have to push on this a little bit. So I'm just going to lay things out. So that looks about like that. And then I've got this little butterfly right here roughly. And this little butterfly just hanging off the edge ever so slightly, just like that. So the first one that I'm going to do is the one at the top. And again, what I'm doing is I'm pushing down on this, and then I push the wing down. And I'm going to hit it with my bone folder. Now, see how flat that is? We'll come back in just a second and add the puff, add the drama. Okay, and then this one again, I'm just gluing down the center first, just like that. This one's just gonna go just like that. There we go. And I'm gonna get in there with my bone folder and just burnish that down. And then I'm just gonna lift this up and I'm gonna put this right here, but it hangs out a little bit. So I'm actually I'm gonna make this a little bit smaller. There we go. I just took a little bit of that off. And I think that's gonna work great. And there we go. See how cute that is? Now we're gonna glue it down onto our card. And again, we're gonna take our card, bump up, fold it over, burnish it down as hard as we can. And now we're gonna glue this down. Now on this one, I'm really gonna weight, W-E-I-G-H-T, the bottom, even sides and not as much. You see there's a little bit more space here on the bottom. And what that is, it's an optical illusion. If you were even top and bottom, it wouldn't look like it was even. All right, so the rule for applying puffy dots is you put your first dots down where you know you need them. And I know I need them in the corners. Okay, so now that sort of shows you, okay, I'm gonna need another one here. I'm gonna need another one here. I could probably get away with one, but I'm gonna put two because I've got them. And I'm gonna put a couple in the center. You got a lot of puffy dots on this card. Now you can use things like pieces of mat board, you can use cardboard boxes, you can cut them up. You can use a lot of things to give your cards dimension. If you're using cardboard, you just cut it slightly smaller than whatever you're gluing down, and then you've got a recycled puffy dot. Okay, so now this is ready to go down on the card. So I'm centering it side to side and giving a little more space on the bottom. And boom, look at how great that looks. This is so cute. I love this card. Look at how cute that one is. Yay. All right, that is card number 3. Okay, so now we're gonna make number 4, card number 4, and this is a sweet card with the happy birthday on it and our little butterflies and a nice royal blue ribbon. And so this is card number 4. Okay, so here are all of our pieces. This is the background and the 3 butterflies, and then this is gonna make the little glass piece, and we'll do that in just a second. So go ahead and trim all the way around. Okay. All right, so we're gonna take the green, and again, love this Kelly green. It's a beautiful green color. And take the paper adhesive. All right, so now we're gonna make our little piece here, and I think I am gonna do the fly. And again, it's just a blob in the center. And you're just gonna push down on it, let everything ooze out the sides. Okay. And then what you're gonna do is you're going to make your little embellishment. And this is a jewelry tray. This is a link tray. And I'm just gonna put this in, and I'm burnishing this in with my fingernail. And you want to make sure you get it right side up. These are going to be side to side. So I'm going to put my little glass cabochon in. There we go, just like that. And now we're going to take one of our blue pieces of ribbon, and I'm going to trim a little point on it. And I'm going to use this point to thread through the little bales. Okay. And now what you have to do is you have to play with the ribbon a little bit and sort of twist it around to where you like the way it looks. There we go, just like that. And it's going to be glued down right on top of that number 4. Just like that. So I'm going to take my Fantastic Jewelers dots and put it right down on the 4. And I'm just going to center that on there. And I'm going to come from the back, and I'm going to really push it on. There we go. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to wrap the ribbon around the edge, and I am going to use 2 more of the dots. Okay. And I'm working from the front. And look at how cute that looks. And now I'm just going to take and trim the ribbon off. And now I'm going to grab a card. Okay. So now this one I'm going to glue down again, giving a little more space down here and kind of matching side to side in the top. And more paper adhesive. go. And I burnish that down. And now on this one, now I'm going to do my little pieces. And top wings only. I think there's something to be said for, you can overdo it a little bit, you know. Okay. And this one is number 2. That's going to go right about here. Right here, off the edge a little bit, because again, we're creating drama. And then this little guy is going to go down here, just like that. And then I'm just going to take my bone folder and burnish the little centers down just to make sure they hold. And voila, there's card number 4. Okay, now we're going to do card number 5. And it's a super fun card with this great bit of clip art, this woman's hand. And I love this image. I think it's such a cool image. And we're going to start with our components. This one is what makes the little glass piece. And this is our puffy, long rectangle. I love this. The shape of this is so cool. So I'm going to set this aside. And the first thing we're going to do is we're going to cut out our pieces. And again, with the fussy cutting, you know, I go around a couple of times. Okay, there's that. And now we're going to take our black cardstock. And this is a little tricky to go around the corner here. That's one of the reasons why I love the particular tape runner that we carry. It's by our friends at Scrapbook Adhesives, because it's cut. It has little cuts in it. And it makes it a lot easier to go around, you know, do a circle. And it doesn't have to be perfect. I'm just gluing that down. And there we go, just like that. And now what we're going to do is we are going to make our piece of glass. And I think I want to try... Which one do I want to do? I want to do Let Your Creativity Fly. I think that's cute. Or maybe I should do the Butterflies Fly Free. I think I'll do that one. And again, save these for other projects because you might use it for another project. And on this, you just want to make sure that you, because it's a rounded, this isn't a square, so just down the center and maybe a little stronger blob on either end. And you do want to work on a piece of scrap paper. And I'm just going to push down on it. I'm letting everything ooze out the sides. And this takes a little longer to adhere because it's a bigger piece. There we go. That looks pretty good. And, oh, no, that's off a little bit. There we go. Don't move it around too much once you've got the glue on here, the fantastic glaze and glue, because you can, if it dries a little bit, it will take the image with it when you move it around. It'll pull the image away. Oh, I just got a nice blob on the front of that. But I'm going to scrape that off later with an X-Acto. So I'm just trimming, trimming, trimming all the way around, undercutting ever so slightly so you don't see that little paper edge. There we go. That looks good. All right. So now we're going to put our card together, and you want to grab a card blank and remember the bump, right? And I'm just going to match up those corners, and I am going to burnish this down just like this. And now I'm going to glue my card down, the design with the hand down using the sticky dots, or the puffy dots, I should say. And again, I'm putting them where I know I need them. I know for sure I need them here, and I know for sure I need it there. And so I think I can get away with 3 along this edge here. And maybe we're gonna try 2. And we'll just give a little extra in the center for support. Okay. And again, I'm just giving it a little more space on the bottom than on the top. Look at that. And I'm gonna just clean this off a little bit. As I said, I got a little bit on the front. So I've got my X-Acto knife here. If you make a piece of glass and you don't like it, you can boil hot water, pour it on top, let it sit for 24 hours, and you can reuse your glass again. So I'm gonna glue this down here because I need space for my little bow that I'm gonna glue down. And then I'm going to attach the cute little butterfly, and I'm gonna do it a little differently. This one is tilted this way. I think I wanna try it like this where the 2 wings are going off. So I'm gonna take and I'm going to put these in just a little bit because the tips of the wings are going to go off the edge a little bit. And you want to burnish, but be careful. You don't want to push too hard on there because you've got those puffy dots underneath. And now I'm going to use, I'm going to use 2 of the super sticky dots on here, just like that. Okay, and that's, I'm sort of noticing where it's overlapping here, and that's gonna go right here. I make sure that it catches. And now I'm gonna take my ribbon, and I have 2 pieces here. And it's pretty easy. You just take it and you tie a knot. And you want to make sure that it's nice. It's a nice and tight knot. And you can kind of pull it apart. And every time it's a little bit different. And then I'm just going to trim it. Just like that. I want to do it. Now that's. Look at how cute that is. And I tend to like my ribbons a little bit longer than shorter. And this ribbon is a little bit different. You see how this is a little bit different, but I kind of like this. And now I'm going to attach it with a half of a fantastic sticky dot. Super sticky, I should say. I love this faux silk ribbon too. I think it's got a really nice body to it. You can do a lot with it. We use it in a lot of our projects. Well, it's always tricky to get the, come on, little liner. There we go. Okay. The paper adhesive will not hold the ribbon, just FYI. And then I'm just going to center that right under the little piece of glass. There we go. And look at how cute that is. All right. That is card number 5. Okay, so now we have our 5 fabulous cards, and we are going to make our little signature gems. So I think I'm going to use this handmade with this card here. And I think I like the burgundy with this one, handmade. I think with this one, I think I want to use the burgundy heart. And I think with this one, how about a little blue heart? And then last but not least, our lovely butterfly. And what about a lovely turquoise heart? Or turquoise handmade. Okay. So now we're going to make our little jewelers, our little signature gems. And again, we're going to work on a piece of scrap paper. And these are our tiny rounds, and they're tricky to work with, but they're fantastic. Just a little blob right in the center. Okay. All right. So now what you're going to do is you are going to cut these into quarters and put a quarter on the back of all of our little signature gems. All right, so now we're going to just stick these down. And look, that tells your recipient that it's handmade. And this one, I think I'm going to put like right over here maybe. Probably right there. Or better yet, I'm going to put it up here. No, I'm going to put it right here. I like it here. There we go. And I think this one we're going to put there. butterfly. Just going to put that right there. Here we go. And last but not least, we are going to put this one here, just like that. Okay, so look at all these great cards that you made. And again, this is one of my favorite series, but this is our Butterfly Fantastic Art Card Kit. And I'm super happy that you joined us. And I just want to thank you from craftfantastic.com. And you can purchase this kit at craftfantastic.com. And I just wanted to remind you that we heart you and have a fantastically creative day.